Hi, today we have Christine back to tell us about her trip to go get ketamine. She was under the weather last week, so we didn't include her then, but we're going to do it now.
Hi. I had a really good experience flying down to Florida and getting treated with Dr. Hannah. I had 10 loading dose infusions for CRPS. Um, the first day that I met him, he went over my whole history. He did thermal imaging on my legs and feet. Um, and explained the process. I had all of the supplements and accompanying medications. Um, they were able to access my Mediport. And every day I went, it was a very simple and fast routine. The nurses were wonderful. The experience of being on ketamine, it is working for me. It is very exhausting. I can say that. But I did start to see differences both in my pain and my mental health immediately. They started at a dose of 150 milligrams and increased it every 2 days throughout the 10 days until I landed on 500 milligrams. And I'm going back for two boosters in about a week and a half. Um, so in a little less than yeah, in 2 weeks, I will have had another two boosters down in Florida. So I'm very excited about that. He does also prescribe some oral dissolving tablets to take concurrently with the infusion therapy. So I was also taking those. What I can say about getting a ketamine infusion is the first couple of days, I never fully fell asleep during any of them. Some people do fall asleep with the Versed. Um, I did not, and I was able to talk to my mom for the first few days during the infusions. I did wear an eye mask, but I kept like trying to be a nurse and ask her like every time I felt the blood pressure cuff go off, I would be like, "What's my blood pressure?" And she would be like, "Just shut up, be quiet, just lean into it or whatever."
Right.
So so by like the third, fourth day, I had resolved, like once they bumped up my dose again, I was like, that's it, I'm going to be quiet. Now, I can tell you that the dissociation is very, very real and was very intense. Um, I did so much research and talked to so many people before going in that I knew kind of what to expect. And anytime I felt like I needed to be grounded, I would lift my eye mask and maybe say something to my mom, ask her to touch my foot because while I was being infused, I felt no pain. I felt nothing. And
I
I
used
literally,
to just open one eye and peek to see
yeah,
where I was.
yes.
Same
And
kind of
I
thing.
would do that. I would touch the wall or touch the bed railing, and I would say to myself in my head, I know where I am. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. I know what's happening. I know why I'm here. I know who that is, my mom. I know I'm safe. I would say that to myself mentally, and I would put my eye mask back down and try to lean
Right.
into it. Now, the hallucinations, basically, they start immediately as soon as it hits your bloodstream, and your vision will start to go a little funny. And I would see sort of like patterns or whatever, and things would get a little blurry, but I could still like hit play on my phone um, and make sure my music was going before I pulled my eye mask down, and things, of course, got more and more intense, within the first few minutes. And as soon as they stop it, when you're done, you start to snap right out of it. And it's
And
very
that's
strange.
unusual because most first time people don't. It
I
takes a
did.
while to get them awake once you
Yeah,
get in
I
a higher range of dose.
even on the last day, I was as soon as my infusion stopped, I'm like, I was awake the whole time.
Right, right,
And it just takes you a minute to kind of realign your mind with your body again. That's the dissociation. I describe it as like you feel like your consciousness is floating next to you in a balloon. But when you're infusing at the higher doses, I did feel my consciousness leave my body and I felt like I was out in space. The amount of information that your brain processes during a 3 hour infusion for me was extremely a lot of information. And I felt like I saw and learned the whole meaning of all of existence
right.
while I was being infused. I saw memories. I didn't see anything scary. The music I listened to, I was very careful about the music I chose to listen to.
Yes.
And that did affect the things that I was seeing behind my eyelids. When the music would change, colors, shapes, or images would change in my mind. Um, I did adjust my playlist when I got tired of hearing like certain songs. And then I also created a second playlist of, funnily enough, recommendations from my daughters. I asked them for like newer type of dreamy sort of music, and they like to listen to that sort of stuff, and they had a lot of newer stuff. So I tried that, and then I listened to some older stuff. I mean, normally I like to listen to a lot of heavy metal, but I didn't think that was a good idea
Right.
during ketamine. So I listened to a wide variety of stuff. So my personally curated list had a lot of my most favorite, even oldie stuff like Sailing by Christopher Cross, you
Right.
know?
Hmm.
So, so yeah, and then like one of my older favorites is George Michael. So I listen to some of him because I feel like his voice is like angelic to me. So,
I've always had
um,
a special playlist that's ketamine. That
yeah,
because
that's what mine is. It says
mm,
ketamine, and then I have the kids recommended ketamine list. And I like even one day towards the end, like in the beginning of my infusion, I was like, I don't feel like listening to these songs. Like even 5 minutes into the infusion, I was able to hit delete, delete, delete on these three that I knew were coming up.
right.
And sometimes I would start my playlist like further down in the
Hmm.
playlist because I wouldn't get through it every day. So, yeah, and one of the things that I experienced was the mouth dryness.
Oh yeah.
You cannot eat or drink anything for 6 hours ahead of time except to take your meds. So I tried really hard to stick to that to the point where if I knew my infusion started at 9 a.m., they really do start you. Like if you
Mm,
already got your access in,
right.
you walk in, fill out your paperwork, sign, get set up, they plug you in and you're off. So I would wake up at 3 a.m. and take a big drink of some, like electrolyte, vitamin water stuff.
Right.
And because I would be so incredibly thirsty.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a big discomfort for me because they won't let you drink at all until after you leave the building.
Right.
And
Right.
the nurse on the first day recommended the biotin spray, and I got that immediately that
Yeah.
day, and that was a lifesaver for me.
Yeah.
Um,
I have one
and
question for you, and that is the person we were interviewing last week gets terrible nausea, vomiting after her infusions. Did you have any of that?
no, actually, after the first week of infusions, I was actually after every day, I was ravenously hungry and thirsty. Now, I still made sure to try to eat several times in the afternoon and evening before I went to bed. My mom cooked every day. They do give you Zofran at the beginning and end, and I think that that's absolutely necessary because I
Yeah.
think that I probably would have had more nausea if I didn't have the nausea medicine.
Right.
You can't take too much Zofran in a day because it can interrupt your QT interval on your heart rate. So you want to be careful about taking too much. and you know that you're getting 8 milligrams already with the infusion.
Right.
So
Well, this person goes to the same place. That just happens to be her reaction to every infusion.
yeah, and I also had the scopolamine patch behind
Hmm.
my ear, the motion sickness. So every day, like after the first day, my mom knew to pack a bottle of water and a granola bar for me. Because
Right.
as soon as we would get in the car, I would drink the whole bottle of water and I would eat a granola bar. And I would usually eat something as soon as we got home. Now, as the dose got higher during the second week, my appetite was reduced and I would make sure that I did eat and I was
Right.
able to eat. I just felt maybe slightly a little bit queasy. I
Mhm.
wouldn't call it like intense nausea or anything like that. I just did not have an appetite and didn't feel like eating. But I very often feel like that anyway with
Right.
CRPS. So it's hard for me to eat even on a good day. So I didn't experience the horrible nausea. I didn't experience anything excessively frightening during
Yeah.
the
I've
infusions.
never had any nausea, no vomiting. Also,
Yeah, I also didn't have any urinary problems. I took all of the supplements that were required even before I went and during, and I also took some azo cranberry pills
mhm.
along with the other ones recommended, and I had no urinary irritation. And in fact, as soon as I was done with every single infusion, I was like, I gotta pee.
Right.
So they would take me to the bathroom immediately, and I didn't have any incontinence issues, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I didn't have any constipation, no problems whatsoever.
That's
Um,
perfect.
my and actually because of like my anxiety, my heart rate was always like running kind of high. And I noticed that when I started taking the ketamine, this
Hmm.
whole sense of like just calmness
Hmm.
settled over me. And my after a week, my iWatch notified me that my baseline level resting heart rate had gone down by at least 10 points, like just resting.
Right.
So, and I started sleeping better and easier and longer. My sleep patterns that I keep my watch on and I look at on my phone improved. My depression has improved by leaps and bounds, even though things are very difficult for me right now with having CRPS and being on disability, and not being able to work and insurance and
Yeah.
money and everything is very difficult. But I used to cry all the time and I haven't been crying. And actually, I've been laughing despite
That's
all of
great.
this
Yeah.
stress. My
And
mom, by
that's
the
the
second,
added bonus that back when I started, they didn't know. And
yeah,
it was only in the last 12 to 14 years that they realized that it also had that effect.
yeah, the second week, my mom noticed that I was genuinely, she saw the dark cloud lift from my face.
Hmm.
She saw me laughing at the TV or making jokes or laughing at her making a joke genuinely, where before it was just kind of like, I always had this, this dark gray cloud
Yeah.
hanging over me. And if I laughed at something, it would be kind of like just shallow, like, haha, huh,
Right.
what, like I was, and so she purposefully put on like comedians on the TV. So I would
Hmm.
sit with her in the evening and watch like Sebastian Maniscalco or whatever and laugh. Like I was
Right.
genuinely cracking up. And she was in a state of disbelief. She's like, I haven't seen you like this in so many years. And so yeah, I'm a believer. All of the places that my CRPS spread to, mine began in my ankle, they all went away. Mine had not like gone deep. It had spread like allodynia, the like fire, the burning, the tingling.
Right.
It had spread to multiple places, all the way up my right leg, down my left leg. face, chest, part of my arm. Um, all of that went away almost immediately. And since then, like it originally had started from like the knee down on my right leg.
Right.
And since then, it keeps moving further and further down my right leg. And the areas that I feel the symptoms keeps getting smaller and
That's
smaller.
wonderful.
I don't feel the intense burning sensations anymore.
Hmm.
I just feel tingling and prickling and numbness and occasionally some tightness. But that has even been slowly inching its way down.
That's awesome.
So I'm on a really good path right now. I'm just very tired and weak and deconditioned because now I'm still taking the oral ketamine right now in
Right.
between before I get the boosters. And yeah, it still makes me very tired. It just
Yeah,
is very exhausting. It's an exhausting medication to
it
take.
is. And some of that will go away with time because the dextromethorphan was extremely exhausting for me, and that did go away. I
Yeah,
originally took it at night. Well, thank you so much for your update. I really appreciate it.
thank you.